Today we are talking about one of my favorite things ever, romance books. Obviously, I live for reading a good romance book, watching a good TV show, or a good movie. That's it. Like, those are the things that motivate me in life. I find little things that I'm obsessed with, and that is like the reason that I wake up in the morning. To me, there's no better feeling than when I find a really good romance book. And it's not just because I love reading a cute little romance story, which I do, but also as somebody who's like introverted and anxious and an overthinker, when I find a really good romance book, it's like my brain finally has a chance to like shut down and rest for a minute. Like, I overthink everything. I have anxieties that I worry about all the time, but I feel like when I open a really good book and I'm reading it, I'm so invested in the story that I'm reading that I can actually finally like rest my mind for a little bit. Also, that like feeling of just joy when I'm reading like something good and like I'm laughing and kicking my feet. I also love reading because it makes me so hopeful, so excited for the things that could come, because I'm reading these things and I'm reading these stories like found family or like traveling new places or experiencing new things. I'm like, this could be me. Like, I could experience this too. I don't know. I just love reading. I think it's the best feeling in the world, and I love books. So that's what we're talking about today. My recent 5-star reads that I will take like no criticism on because I love them and I can't hear anybody talk trash about them because they're so good to me. They're my version of perfect, even if they're not actually perfect. Do you know what I mean? Let's just start because I'm so excited. When I talk about books, I just feel so excited. Like, I love that question. Like, I can't wait to talk about it. Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This book is everything I didn't know I needed. It is absolute perfection to me. If you don't like it, I don't understand. I couldn't even tell you what is so special about this book because it's everything. This book is about a blonde man. That is not my type. I don't like blonde men. Like, that is not my ideal like book boyfriend. But I read this book and I fell in love with a blonde man. Like, I didn't care. The book is basically about a girl who works as a professor during the day, but also like has a side gig of like doubling as fake girlfriends for people. So she like goes to family parties and pretends to be like a date for whoever the guy is that hires her. She's worked with this guy for a while and like gone to family parties and met his brother. So her and the brother have this like really weird relationship, and she's told him this whole fake story because every time she goes out on dates, she makes up like a fake life for herself. So she has a job interview, this job that she really wants, and who's on the hiring committee if not the brother of the guy that she pretends to date. Jack is the book boyfriend that everybody needs. He reads Elsie so well. Like, he just gets her without her having to say anything, and I love it so much. And the whole thing is like, he just wants to take care of her. He just wants her to do well. Like, he's always rooting for her, and I love it so much. I think about this book daily. Like, I compare every other book boyfriend to Jack because I think he's just so perfect. Her surprise pregnancy trope book that I've read recently and I loved is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I've never read anything by this author before, and I'm pretty sure she only has like 3 books. But this book was so sweet. It was like everything I needed. I was in kind of a book slump when I read it, but it kind of pulled me out of it because I loved it so much. It is about these 2 people who meet at a Halloween party, and they're both dressed up as pirates, and they end up sleeping together. And then a couple weeks later, she finds out that she's pregnant. And when she tells him that she's pregnant, it was just like the sweetest moment ever. And I feel like theirs is kind of like a found family in the way that they make such a cute family together. After she finds out that she's pregnant, she ends up moving in with him, and you get to see them kind of like living together, and they're really unsure of how to live in the same space with the other person. But he's such a cinnamon roll like boyfriend. I loved him so much. Sometimes like sweet boyfriends really are not my vibe. I'm kind of like a grumpy sunshine girl. Like, I love when he's kind of like mean, kind of nasty, but then he has like a soft side just for her. In this book, I loved how he was such a sweet like soul. He was such a caring person. He makes dinner for her. He's just such a big, lovable nerd, and I just love this book so much. And if you like surprise pregnancy trope books, you should read this 1000%. I think it's so good. Wait for It by Mariana Zapata is one of my all-time favorite books. I actually think I might say it is like my favorite book ever. And the reason I included it in my like recent 5-star reads is because I reread this book all the time. I've reread it probably 5 times at this point, I think. And it's a thick book. Like, it's thick. Wait for It is kind of a single parent trope because it is about a woman who's like the new guardian of her nephews because her brother recently passed away. Her and her nephews are moving into a new home, and she ends up running into the guy across the street one night, and they have like a bad first meeting, and then she realizes that the across the street neighbor is actually one of her nephew's like travel baseball coaches. So they have to interact and be around each other. Even though they had this bad first meeting, you get to see like so much of her and her nephews interacting, and like their relationships are just so cute. Dallas, the baseball coach, I just love that man. Like, I want him, I need him. Biblically, if you take even like one recommendation from me, like let it be this book. Unless you don't like slow burns, because you will hate it. Like, it's so slow burn. They don't really do much until like the end of the book, but I feel like that's why it's so good. I love to see a relationship like develop before they just kind of like fall into doing stuff together, because I just think it means more. Personal opinion. Anyways, also Luna and the Lie and From Lukov with Love, both of these books, like I've reread them again multiple times. I love them. Luna and the Lie is not one that I see people talk about a lot as like being one that they love from Mariana Zapata, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's just me. I love this book. It's about a guy and a girl who both work at like a mechanic shop. It's like a shop for specialty cars where they do like paints and like restoration of like difficult cars. She started when she was really young because she needed a job to support her family, like her two sisters. She's worked there ever since, like working her way up. He's such a grump in this book, and I love it. Like, he's so grumpy, he barely talks. I think he really communicates most with like grunts or like just stares, and I love it. In this book, she really deals with like family issues of them being really unsupportive of her and like all taking from her and giving her back like nothing, and all she wants is like familial love. Like, she wants that relationship with her family, and she just doesn't get it from them. And I think this book is so sweet because he really takes on the role of like being somebody who cares about her in like a way that's not even in a romantic way necessarily, even though it is, but also in a way that just like is somebody who's there always to support you and like take care of you in a way that she's never had before. From Lukov with Love is about figure skaters. If you like Spitting Out, like the TV show, and you haven't read this book, you should 1000% read this book. There's also such a good take care of you scene where he finds out that she's sick and he comes over and takes care of her, and I love it so much. Also, I loved hearing about like the figure skating world. I think that's one of the best things about Mariana Zapata books, is that they're always set in like a different career path or like different kind of world, and you get to like learn about that world at the same time as you're like reading the romance book. I don't know, I love it. The next book is actually the one that I read most recently, and it's A Deal with the Devil by Elizabeth O'Rourke. And I actually didn't realize I had read this author before and loved her. There's a book by her called like Waking Olivia. I literally think I read this book just because I saw a TikTok about it. My bad. But it was so good. It's a whole series called like the Devil series, and I've read all of the books in the series and loved them. I haven't read the last one because I actually saw that it had like bad reviews, so I guess I didn't read the whole series, but I read the first 3 books of the series and loved it so much. This book in particular though, I think it's just like the tropes that I love, so that's the reason I liked it the most. This book is about a girl who's like filling in as an assistant for her friend who works for this guy who is a plastic surgeon in LA. He's British, he's grumpy, he lives in a giant mansion, he's super rich, and she's like an aspiring writer. Wealthy, grumpy man will do it for me every single time. It's just a trope that I love. This book is so freaking cute because as much as he is so grumpy, she starts making him like smoothies and giving him vitamins because she's like realizing that he never takes care of himself. He's always like working, go, and he never takes a day off. So she ends up like giving him smoothies every morning. She'll make him like a healthy smoothie and give him vitamins, and she's like giving him vitamin D because she's like, you never get outside, like you need vitamin D. As much as he's like super grumpy about it and like complains and says like he doesn't want to drink it, he always drinks it. And then there's a day that she didn't make it yet and he's like, what, no smoothie? Like, he's waiting for it. Like, I love that. He's just like a wounded man who's never been taken care of, and she's somebody who's like struggling and he wants to help her, and it's just so good. Heartless and Reckless by Elsie Silver are without a doubt like my favorite. I've reread both of them already. I guess what makes a 5-star book for me is like if I've reread it or like think about it on the daily. I love these books. Heartless is about a single dad who like works as the owner of the family ranch. Like, he takes care of everything for it. He needs some help taking care of his son for the summer. He ends up hiring a new nanny, and they have this really awkward, funny first meet, and then he sees her as the person who's interviewing as his son's nanny, and he's like, no. I just met her when her underwear fell out of her purse. Like, she's not gonna be taking care of my son. Willa ends up kind of like worming her way into his heart. She ends up taking care of his son for the summer. Cowboy, single dad, grumpy sunshine. Need I say more? If I hear anybody talk bad about it, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Reckless is about a doctor and a bull rider. They meet one night at a family event. They end up like having a little one-night stand. What do you know? She ends up pregnant. It's a surprise pregnancy trope. She's the grumpy, he's the sunshine. I was so excited to read this book that I read it in a day, and it was just like so perfect. Like, it's exactly what I thought it would be, but also so much better. The development of Winter, who you meet in the first book as like the really mean, cold sister to the girl in the first book, to now is so good. Like, I love seeing her develop as a person. I love that Elsie Silver took like the kind of like villain sister, like the mean stepsister kind of vibe, and turned her into somebody that you like relate to. And I think that's actually what's so great about the book, is how relatable Winter is. Like, she is the worst parts of people that you kind of like want to hide. I related to Winter so hard when I read this book, and I was like, I know I will be rereading this. And also, Elsie Silver's last book of the series comes out soon, and I cannot wait. I think this entire series is pretty much like a 5-star book series, but these are just like the two that I love the most. I think the last one will also be like one of my favorites. I don't know. Next amazing 5-star read is The Right Move by Liz Tumford. I've never read anything else by this author before, and so when I read this book, I was like completely taken aback because it was so good. It's about a basketball player and this girl who is friends with the basketball player's sister, and she has to move in with him because she has nowhere to live right now. She gave me such like Rapunzel vibes. She's so like perfect and put together, but also like she's a real girl. She has real issues. I just loved her so much. The acts of service in this book, the things that this man does for her, it's just shown me like all of the things that I need somebody to do for me in real life one day. So he ends up fake dating her because he's trying to look good for the general manager of like the NBA team that he's on. I love fake dating because I love that it puts them in the situation where they have to be together, but they're not really together, but obviously it's like you're faking it, so you start to feel it for real. Like, I love it. Another trope that I love that is obviously in this book is like the famous, not famous trope, because he's like the famous NBA player and she's like the normal girl. I just love it. I don't know. He's like living this life of luxury and he's like lonely, and she's like lonely but she's got nothing to her name, and he's like, all right, I'll share with you. And then they like end up being everything that the other person needs, and I just love it. I need my own Ryan Shea. This is another book too that has like the 3rd book of the series coming out soon, and based off of the tropes that I saw for that book, this is gonna be another series that has like 5-star reads in it for me. So good. And then last but 100% not least is the Boys of Tommen series. I'm pretty sure I picked the first book up before the second one had even come out yet. I had to wait for the second one to come out, but now I have read all 4 of the books that are currently out, and I think the reason that I love this series so much is because it feels like an entire world. It's kind of similar to the Addicted like Calloway Sister series in my opinion, not because of anything that happens, but in the way that you like experience the entire world. In every single book you're kind of getting crumbs about like the different relationships between different people. So like the first one is obviously about Johnny and Shannon, and she's moving to a new school that Johnny attends, and he's like the rugby captain. She's walking across the pitch one day and she gets hit in the head with the rugby ball. Is it a ball? I don't know. They end up meeting, and it's just so cute. These characters are so young in the book, like they're both in high school. And I loved that they're not like perfect. They're both like these raw, like growing human beings who are just trying to figure out who they are, but also dealing with like issues of their own. This is an emotional book for sure. This entire series is so emotional, and definitely search trigger warnings before you read it. After I read the 4th book, I had to take a break because I'm not usually somebody who reads like emotional books. I'm in reading for like joy. Like, I want the happy ever after, like at the end. I want everything to be okay. But these books are not exactly that. Like, they do have the happily ever after, but it takes a lot to get there, and there's a lot of pain before you get there, and that's just not usually my vibe when I read. So these were actually really hard books for me to read. The last one, I took a break. I took a break for like a couple of months before I finished it because I just couldn't take how much pain they were all in, and it just didn't seem like there was like a light at the end of the tunnel. So I was like, okay, take a break. But it's just such a good series. You really get to see these people like finding each other and finding like their own strength. I cannot wait for the next book to come out because it's about Claire and Gibbsy. Like, you know it's gonna be amazing. This series is one of those series that I feel like I will remember forever. Like, it's the same way that I feel about the Addicted Calloway Sister series, where I'm like so in love with it. It's so found family, and I don't know, it's just like you're so immersed in this world throughout all of the books. Anyways, those are the books that I've read recently that are like 5-star perfection to me. I would do anything to be able to like wipe my memory and just go back and read those books for the first time again, because reading them for the first time was like magical. I'm not even gonna lie, I give a lot of books 5 stars. Like if I enjoyed the book, 5 stars. I'm not stingy with my 5 stars, okay? If I liked the book, if I had to read it in one sitting, 5 stars. Like, you know what? Books are made to be enjoyed. I'm not like a literary genius. I'm just a girl who likes romance. So if it's good, 5 stars, 100%. I'll give like even the trashiest of romance books 5 stars, because if it was entertaining, 5 stars. If there was a hot book boyfriend, 5 stars. If the girl was like a badass, 5 stars. If there's an interesting plot line, 5 stars. If it has me giggling, laughing, kicking my feet at 5 in the morning, 100 stars. If there's a growly man with dark hair who's grumpy, 5 stars. If it's about a small town romance, most likely 5 stars. If there's a surprise pregnancy or single dad trope, 5 stars. If it's grumpy sunshine, 5 stars. If it's a cowboy romance, you guessed it, 5 stars. I actually feel like most books, I don't even remember what happened in the book. Like I enjoy it while I'm reading and then I'm like, close the book, what was it about? I can't remember a single thing. I'm not somebody who annotates my book. I don't remember a single thing. I don't remember a name. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember the plot line. Like, I just remember I liked it. That's all I need to know. It was good. I loved it when I was reading it. That's it. I'm not even picking up on the good lines. Like, the guy will say something so romantic and I'll be like laughing, giggling, kicking my feet. But I'm too busy to go get out my pen and highlighter and mark up that he said that. I don't know. I just don't annotate. Anyways, my feet are falling asleep because I've been sitting on my feet this whole time. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you guys soon. Love you, bye.